Hi everyone. Leading up to October, I'm going to be showing you how to do some simple pen and wash sketches using a couple of reference pictures that I took over when I was on holidays. This is over in Suzdal, Russia, and I'm starting off now by doing the sky with a thin wash of cobalt blue. Just bringing that wash all the way down and keeping it relatively thin. Like to work with the page on a slight slant as well, just to encourage that paint to move downwards. And what you can notice as well is I've cut around this middle building as well as the buildings to the left, and the reason for that is because I don't want to get any of that blue onto the building, so when I add in the yellows and the warmer tones to the buildings later, it doesn't mix and form any greens. Now with the cars, I've just added some mid-tones to the left hand side, and I've left the top of the car as well as the windscreen just to create a bit of a highlight there. Now I've got some yellow ochre and colouring in some of the bases of these buildings and just bringing that wash all the way down the page. I've also added in a little bit of burnt sienna into that mix just at the bottom. And I've decided now to make this the sky area of the second painting, just to try something a little bit different. So I'm merging the colours downwards and just making it a bit darker, so it's kind of now looking like a sunset, end of day scene, and into that mix I'm just adding some darker colours to indicate some trees and also some warmer colours, light yellow to the building in the middle. And notice what I'm doing now near the horizon line, I'm just adding in some cooler colours to contrast against a lot of those warmer colours in the sky and in the buildings, so end up with some very nice complementary mixes here. And that's just due to the opposition of those colours, and in watercolours you get this sort of effect even when you get light and dark areas of the painting. That contrast and I guess the difference between the warms and the cools just it makes the painting look a lot more interesting. So while the paper is still wet, I'm adding in a whole bunch of mixtures to the right hand side. There's some green that I'm adding into the sky, and then I'm going back now, and while the first one's finished drying, just adding in some of the yellow. So now what I'm doing is I'm picking up a bit of sap green and just using a round brush, just dabbing that onto the paper to indicate some of these leaves. And I'm doing it in quite a light color because later I want to get in some darker leaves as well on top. And using a smaller round brush, just adding some details to this building in the middle, some of the darker areas to the left side of the building and also the windows. Just remember to keep the right hand side of the building relatively light, just to indicate the light source coming from that direction. Just darkening the wall now behind the cars, adding in some branches to the tree, some darker areas as well as this lamp. So I'm really now just adding a lot of the darks on top of those base layers and base coats that I've put onto the cars, and even the shadows that are running onto the road, trying to join these all up. Adding in some figures as well, remembering to just make those shadows to the left side of the figures, a couple in the distance. And just a bit more detail to the buildings in the background. Just darkening some of the roofs. giving that a quick dry off. So the wall needs to be a little bit darker according to the reference picture. These little sketches are fantastic to understand tone and just practice. You can even do them in just one color, so monochromatic sketches, and that will help you understand tonal values a lot better. Just some detailing to this building now, and to the figures, making them a little bit darker. And now working on this bottom one, which I'm going to do quite quickly and simply. So I've added in the shadow and the darker side of the car to the left and connected it on to the shadow underneath. And those are the darkest areas of the entire painting. And now in the background I'm just indicating some branches and some of those trees. Bringing in a little bit of this blue slash purple now in the foreground to add some shadows running from right to left, and adding in the figures as well at the same time, and some of the darks on these buildings. Just smaller shadows being cast in the background, bit more detailing. And it's really important to pay attention to those shadows, especially because that's going to emphasize the lighter areas of the painting, just make it look a lot more vibrant. And add a bit of gouache or just some lighter colors now to bring out the headlights of the cars a bit. Thanks for watching, and really encourage you to start doing some of these pen and wash sketches if you haven't already. They're definitely not masterpieces, but they do look really nice with their simplicity and offer you just a very easy way to practicing your watercolors every day, just being consistent.